What's going on, everybody? So today I'll be going over if you should actually go for any of the 3.0 characters or if this will be a full skip patch for most people. Let's get into it, right? So starting off with the Herta, since she was the first character drip marketed for 3.0, she's gonna be an ice erudition character, right? Kind of like the 4-star chibi, mini Herta, but she's actually going to work a little bit differently. So 4-star Herta is actually oriented towards follow-up attacks, right? Most of us know this by now, but the 5-star Herta is actually going to work a little bit differently. Now 5-star Herta, from the way it looks, seems to actually scale off of skill and ultimate damage instead of actually follow-up attacks like the 4-star Herta. So even though they're both ice erudition, still there's going to be quite a bit of nuance between the two, quite a bit of a difference between the two. And I mean, who knows, bro, maybe you could actually pair the two together, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. That's getting into a little bit too much of speculation. But should you actually go for the Herta? Now I feel like it's gonna be situational, right? The thing with Herta is, obviously, since she's erudition, she's especially gonna shine in pure fiction, but from the way it looks, it seems like maybe she'll be somewhat viable in MOC, which it's not unheard of, right? Rappa is not a good character, but there's enemies that are perfectly just designed for Rappa's kit, and that way Rappa can easily deal damage to them. It might be kind of like that with Herta, right? Herta, there'll probably be some new enemies that you can easily take down with Herta, which will of course incentivize people to actually go for Herta. But I do see the longevity when it comes to the Herta, right? She's an erudition character. Pure fiction is a long-term endgame system. I could see people using Herta long-term for pure fiction, right? Minimum 1 year until you eventually have to replace her, because with the direction that pure fiction has been heading in, it's starting to get to a point where you can't bullshit it anymore. You can't just clear it with Herta, 4-star Herta and Himiko and call it a day. It's starting to get a little bit tough, and especially with the brand new grit mechanic, they're starting to change up pure fiction, so they're not afraid to change up these core endgame systems that they've already implemented into the game for quite a while at this point. But should you actually go for the Herta? And to that, honestly, I don't think you need her, but I don't think it'll be bad if you skipped her either. An example of a character who, as of right now, at least is a must pull, I would say would probably be Renmei, right? Renmei, absolutely a must pull. If she's on the banner, why would you not go for her? She's the most universal character in the game. You compare her with any team comp, break team comps, crit damage team comps, hyper carry, everything. Acheron, you compare her with Acheron if you have E2 Acheron. Renmei is what I would consider a must pull unit, and as opposed to a character who I think is honestly just straight up bad, I would say Fugue. I honestly, I already made a video on it. I think Fugue is just a terrible character. I tried to pair. I tried. That's paraphrasing. I tried to go more in depth in my video about her, but I think she's terrible. I don't think she's worth it at all. But I would say that the Herta lies somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere in between the two, maybe leaning a little bit more towards the meta side while not fully being a must pull. But obviously, she's not going to be terrible either. Now, let's move on to Aglia. Now, there's a lot, okay, there's a lot about Aglia. A lot of warnings that I gotta give to players, right? Number one, if you want to use Aglia properly, at the very least, you're gonna want Sunday. You don't need Sunday, but if you want Aglia to actually be good, you're gonna need Sunday, right? So, there's only 1 day left to get Sunday. 1 day and 10 hours. It's not a lot of time, and I don't even have him. I'm not going for him, but you're gonna want Sunday for Aglia since she's the first ever remembrance character, which I'll get into later. But Sunday here, right? They're not even trying to hide it anymore. He's like the Renmei of break effect team comps, where he's a jack of all trades, but where he shines the most would be summon team comps, right? He boosts damage in total, but he will especially boost summon damage, and Aglia is a summon DPS. But the thing with Aglia, right, is you also need the Trailblazer, right? You're gonna want the Remembrance Trailblazer with her, and if you have Firefly, you can kind of see the issue, right? If you have Firefly, then you have to substitute Harmony Trailblazer for the Remembrance Trailblazer. That's gonna cause an issue with the Firefly team comp. That's why they have Fugue. That's why they want you to pull Fugue, but it's bait. It's not worth it. I promise you, it's not worth going for Fugue, right? It's not worth it. But the biggest warning of all, I would say, is she's the first ever Remembrance character, and that means that she's gonna get power crept sooner than you might think. Now, people say that this game is harsh with the power creep, and do I agree with that? I'm gonna be real with you. No. We've had like 2 DPSs that have been power crept. Jingliu came out back in 1.4, damn near the launch of the game, and I'm still 36 starring MOC, still 12 starring Apocalyptic Shadow with Jingliu, E0 S1 Jingliu. Right? I'm free to play, but the power creep is not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's just they're way too used to Genshin's easygoing and lenient power creep, right? In that game, right, another whole universe game, there's characters from 1.0 4 years later that are still at the pinnacle of the meta, right? It's not like that here. You can have a hard time using 1.0 characters like Welt, but the power creep in this game really isn't as bad as people make it out to be. I've seen a lot of Doom posts about Honkai Star Rail because of the power creep. It's not that bad. I can make a whole video on it, but with the case of Aglia though, she will get power crept, not severely within 3.x, but there will be another Remembrance character that comes out a couple patches after her that will just be better. And I hate to say it, but it's true, right? See, Sealy came out back in 1.0, and then we had Jingliu a couple patches later. It's gonna be kind of like that if anyone watching here is a veteran player. Right, it's gonna be just like that with Aglia. Aglia is gonna come out 3.0, first ever Remembrance character. They're gonna release another Remembrance character a couple patches later, maybe even 2 patches later, that just is better than Aglia in every way. Right? Maybe not the same element, but the same path, does the same thing, just a little bit differently and a whole lot better. So Aglia, it doesn't have the same kind of longevity that the Herta has, but she will definitely be at the top of the meta for, maybe not the very top, but she's going to be high up on the meta for quite a while at the very least. But the fall off for her within the upcoming patches is going to be rapid. I'll give you an example of what I mean, right? Herta, or not Herta, Rappa will not be viable outside of Pure Fiction within the next 6 months, and I promise you that. When we shift away from the break effects, or the break stuff with the meta, Rappa is just going to be useless. You might even have a hard time using her in Pure Fiction, but it's going to be like that. With Aglia, I promise you, the longevity is just not there. But that's it for this video. I don't have a whole lot else to say. Would I recommend going for Aglia? Yes, but I wouldn't recommend going all in. You know, like saving up 10,000 Stellar Jades and then blowing it all trying to get multiple copies of her. Wouldn't recommend that when she's just gonna get power crept. With Herta, she seems nice, but maybe you could go for E0 S1 or E1 S1 at most. E1 S0, who knows? I wouldn't recommend going all in on the Herta either. While I do see the longevity, it's just I'm not sure if she'll do too good of a job outside of Pure Fiction, but that's really about it. I don't have a whole lot else to say. Goodbye.